About 6 years ago, I uploaded 2 videos, and this would be my first attempt at trying to create the challenge hookup chart. It was a very ambitious project and one that I got overwhelmed with quite quickly, so I abandoned it. 2 years went by and I decided to try this endeavor once again, this time with some help. I had 2 volunteers by the name of Lowell Nikki and Demetria watch some seasons, take some notes, and trying to help make this process more manageable. I ultimately dropped the ball, and the project lay dormant ever since. That is until today. For the past few months, me and a very special someone have been doing hours of research to do what many might have felt could be the impossible, and that is construct a thorough, extensive, most complete the challenge hookup chart. Now, before getting into connecting everybody, I want to go over some context and some ground rules that we followed in how we put this chart together. Now, if you're just somebody who wants to get to the chart portion, please jump to this timestamp. Rule number 1, to get on this chart, you have had to been a competitor on the challenge at least for a season. Now, some people might be saying, no duh, but as an example, in season 6, Puck and Betty marry on the challenge, but you will not see Betty represented on this chart because she was never a competitor on the show. Rule number 2, which challenge seasons count? All of them, except for the challenge Sweden that was not produced by Buna Murray Productions. But everything else is on the table, and we tried to do our due diligence by watching everybody else's reality show appearances. From their original shows like Love Island, Are You the One, to even secondary ones like Celebrity X on the Beach, and so on and so forth. We tried to do our best with the international versions of like the Bachelor series and everything. I just want to put it out there that we did our best to be extra thorough in this process. And the final ground rule is no rumors, all facts. We take this chart very seriously. So we came up with the rule that you need proof to be on this chart. So if there was any evidence of like something being shown in an episode, shown or talked about at the reunion, shown during the Stuff They Should Have Shown specials, or if I could find like a clip or an episode of an after show that was officially produced by MTV to help in this process, it's in the chart. Now, we were dedicating so much of our time to watch like 700 plus episodes of the challenge plus extra shows on top of that it was pretty much impossible for us to also listen to like 10 plus challenge podcasts and the countless hours of interviews in hopes that we can maybe hear somebody say something of happenings and who did what inside the challenge house with each other. So we pretty much kept the podcast at like arm's length away. And all the connections you are about to see have been shown one way or another on the show or another reality TV show and can be verified. And something to help in this verification process is a link down in the description below to a Google spreadsheet where you'll be able to see everybody who will be featured in this chart, who are they connected with, as well as the season, episode, and a time marker of when that instance happened on the show. Spoiler warning, things are gonna get chaotic in this chart. So if you wanna try to follow along or double check any of these connections, please go check out that Google spreadsheet in the description down below. The other thing about the Google spreadsheet is that I will keep it up to date. You see, this video could become outdated within the next season or 2 of the challenge being released. But as seasons and episodes come and go, I will consistently update that Google spreadsheet. Now, 6 years ago, in my initial attempt, I started with a singular starting point, and that was Corey Wharton. When I was thinking about it nowadays, I decided to choose 4 people who I deemed the pillars of the chart. These are the 4 players that, when combined, have impacted the challenge from the very beginning all the way down to the most recent season of the challenge as of releasing this video, which is season 41. The 4 players that I have chosen to be the backbone of this project is Veronica, Jen G, Nani, and Ashley Mitchell. The first person that we're gonna start with is Veronica. She is an OG. The first person we're going to attach to Veronica is James Orlando, and James only has 2 other people attached to him. You have Rebecca, whom he was seeing in season 4, and then he came into season 6 in a committed relationship with Emily B. Next up, we got Eric Neese, who is attached to Veronica, and then also from Road Rules All-Stars, he and Cynthia had a little bit of a fling as well. We're going to bring in 2 heavy hitters in Abram and Rachel Robinson to be attached to Veronica, thanks in part to an infamous scene that happened back in season 7. We're going to bring in Coral and Cara Maria to attach to Abram.
And Darrell will be attached to Rachel Robinson on their Road Rules Campus Crawl season together. Jen G and Rachel attached. Evan is also being attached to Rachel. And of course, Anissa. Anissa could have been one of the 4 pillars of this hookup chart, but instead we went a different route. But Anissa is very integral to this chart as well, being attached to not only Rachel Robinson and Veronica, but many more iconic people as well. We also have to get fancy here by stretching these lines. There's going to be a lot of rearranging during this process. We're adding Brad in to be connected to Veronica. Shane is also being attached to Veronica, attached to Coral, and Tanya. Like I said with Anissa, Tanya definitely could have been a 4th pillar, but decided to go with Veronica since she has done a lot more newer seasons. Now with Blair being added to the chart, I do have to give a shout out to a clip from an after show I found with Veronica and Blair, essentially putting together a challenge hookup chart of their own of the older seasons, of seasons like 1 through 10, which was very useful in the creation of this chart, so I just want to give a shout out to them. Also, something that I found very interesting is that Tina only is connected to one other person, and that is Veronica. Jody and Trishelle are being added and connected to Adam L. and Avery. Mike the Miz will also be connected to Jody and Trishelle. Kendall then being added to Blair and the Miz. More rearranging. And here's the thing. We have like maybe 30 or so names on here, not even, and it's already getting a bit chaotic. And just so you know, there's like 295 names that will be added to this chart. It's only going to get more and more chaotic as time goes on. Sarah Grayson, the Gauntlet Queen, is being added in here, as well as Lynette. Both are going to be attached to Theo Vaughn. Oh, and Shane. Kimberly is being added, and the chart starts to blink as more and more lines and pictures are being added. We have Robin being attached to Evan. What we were unaware of is that we were going to be stopped in our tracks even though we just started.
All right, he's connected. Okay, you can make this one really, really small. Nick H.
Are you seeing the error message?
The version of Inspiration that we were using had a file limit, which neither one of us knew about. This was a major setback, and at this point we had only spent 45 minutes and probably didn't have more than 10% of the chart done. I was trying to think of alternatives. I was even looking at a free trial to Canva to figure out some way how I could do this. Luckily, my Joel reached out to the Inspiration team and asked if there was any possible way that they could help us out. And within a week, they gave us special access to the program where there was no file limit. This is not an ad. I just wanted to say a huge shout out thank you to everyone over at the Inspiration program team for being quick to respond and helping us out in a major way. The weekend was quickly approaching. We cleared out all of our schedules and
Alright, it was like a week later, but we came back stronger, better than ever, and more determined to get this done. We're starting back right where we left off with Nick H being attached to Shane. Hizella is being connected over to Blair. Katie is also being added to Blair, as well as Lori. It's here we decided to focus on Brad. We first added in Arissa, where they connected on season 9. Cameron from their Real World season together. Brad actually had a lot more names than I thought. I mean, I remember Tori, but I didn't remember a lot of the earlier seasons with Brad. And with Brittany comes Chuck. Tori and Brad met each other on season 15, engaged by season 17, and married by season 20. And Emily Schramm from season 40. Dave G was in a relationship with Kara back in season 7. Jamie, 3-time challenge champion, being added into the chart. Honestly, the chart really started freaking out when Ace was added, and for good reason, because Ace was attached to quite a few people. Cameron, Tanya, Trishelle, Mallory from their Real World season. We also had to zoom out to try to connect Jen G with Ace as well. We also had to move Darrell over because we would have to connect him to Jen. And Natalie gets thrown off a little bit to the wayside as we are waiting to connect her with everybody else. Coley will be connected with Ace as well as connected with Gen G. Alex was on the same Real World Denver season with Coley and Jen, and they actually had like this love triangle. Leah was attached to Darrell thanks to what happened in Season 8, The Inferno. And Casey, surprisingly enough, could have been one of the 4 pillars as well, as she had some big names as she gets attached to later on. Julie being added here thanks in part to Jamie, as well as Montana's being added to Jamie. Noah, from what happened on Season 2. Big Easy is being attached to Katie from a kiss that happened back in Season 12, Rachel M, and Big Easy was back in Season 15, Gauntlet 3. And Devin will be the final person attached to Big Easy as they started a romantic relationship back in Season 23. Finally, we add the godfather of reality TV, Mark, who will be attached to Robin, of course. And then we're also bringing in Randy to attach to Robin as well. Sometimes we like to focus on specific players at times to knock them off of our list. Here we try to take care of Robin and her connections. Dan W, one of the most toxic relationships back on Season 16, The Island, as well as Kenny, which was confirmation back in Season 16 as well between an argument that happened between Robin and Johanna. Angela T had like this chemistry with Frank R, but she never kissed him. Instead, she made out with Tanya. Landon also is attached to Tanya, who then Landon gets attached to Jody and Shavonda. I mentioned that I was surprised about how many people were attached to Brad. I would say that I'm actually surprised because Derek is such a family man that it was surprising to see everybody who he's attached with, from Genji to Casey to Anissa to Jody, as well as Tanya and Brittany. There was this like looming feeling of just seeing whenever we'd zoom out Nani and Ashley and how the chart was already getting so chaotic and we hadn't even attached anyone to them yet. Finally bringing in Keena to be attached to Randy. While we are zoomed out for a second, we attached Kenny and Gen G real quick. Now we have Mark with Jody with everything that happened back in Season 11. Adding Alton into the mix to be attached to Jody back in Season 11. Attaching Alton to Anissa and Hizella, as well as Janelle. Janelle is only attached to Alton. Erlon and Alton were on their Real World season and were in a committed relationship in Season 7. And we're pretty much rounding out all of Alton's connections here, now attaching him with Sarah Rice. Now we're going through Kenny, having him attached to Sarah Rice and Johanna, meaning that we'll be adding Wes later on. We connected Mark and Tanya from the chaotic mess that happened in Season 10. That's when Tanya threw all of Beth's clothes into the pool. Finally, we add DM into the mix, and with DM comes CT.
A bit. Okay, here they are. CT, DM, and Derek.
Adding Leah onto CT from a kiss that happened at the reunion of their Real World Paris season. And we're going to officially add Nani into the mix, being attached to CT. Nani then is going to be connected to Anissa, as well as Devin. Anastasia will be added over to CT, as well as Cook. Marlon will be connected to Cook, Nani, as well as we're adding Jack. They were on X on the Beach Peak of Love together. We're going to add Siobhan after the infamous episode 1 that happened in the Duel 2. Siobhan is also being attached to Dan W. with what happened on Season 20. Vinny then gets added here to be attached to Sarah and Siobhan. We do connect CT and Kara, but that'll come up a little bit later. So if you're confused, just know that it's going to get solved here in a little bit. We attach CT with Mandy and Laurel, as well as attach Laurel and Mandy. We're just gonna take off the Cara Maria thing. It was like a skit they were putting on, and there was no like, I couldn't see the lips touching. She like jumps into him sitting on the couch. So I'm just gonna take that off. So yeah, that was a little bit confusing. I'm sorry to everybody, but yeah. Speaking of Cara Maria, we're attaching her to everybody like Emily Scrum, Brittany, Laurel, Thomas, from what happened on the Banana Cam back in season 27. Thomas's only other attachment is Haley. Nicole Z is being brought in to be connected to Laurel and Cara M.
Laurel, you look good. Cara, you look better.
And here we are. Paulie, of course. Tyler Duckworth also is being connected to quite a few people. You have Cara M, Laurel, Emily Scrum, JD. Also, we have him attached to Camilla. Ryan. Surprisingly enough, Ryan could have also been one of the 4 pillars that we chose. He's attached to Tyler, Genji, Mandy, Laurel, Ashley. Ashley would also be attached to Dunbar. Ryan and Teresa and Genji. Davis and Ryan had a fling back in season 17. You have Brooke L, who is attached to Davis, Genji. Also, Kellyanne is attached to Ryan. Surprisingly, we haven't added Paula yet up to this point. We need to give her some space to adequately connect her with everyone she needs to be. As we also have to stretch out this line between her and Tyler. Bringing in a 3-time challenge champ of Evelyn to be attached to Ryan as well, and Brooke L from what happened back in season 15 Gauntlet 3. We're gonna just put Pete in the middle. He doesn't really have anybody else except for Genji and attached to Laurel. Adam King is also being added into Jen and Paula. And then Mike. Honestly, Real World Las Vegas 2, they had everyone from their season be on the challenge at certain points, and as well as they are pretty much all connected in this chart as well, to a certain extent. Mandy and Paula would be connected, Mandy and Evelyn, Chet will be added into this mix, where he is going to be connected to not only him and Mandy, but also him and Trishelle, thanks to what happened back in season 23. Finally, Wes, where, Mandy, Kellyanne, Teresa, and of course, Johanna. Wes is like the bridge between the two sides of this chart. Also, there was a smooch shared between him and Kyle back in season 36 Double Agents. Trying to find a good place for Kahutta to be connected to Kellyanne as well as Nani. Pete is just in the way in the midst of all of these lines. We're trying not to cross any lines here to make it as readable as possible. But once you start adding in more and more people, it just gets so chaotic and somewhat overwhelming. That's why there is a spreadsheet down in the description if you want to keep an eye out and follow along through there. Tyree is connected to Brooke, who shared a kiss back on their Real World season together. Jasmine and Tyree are connected. They were on Battle of the Exes together. Leroy and Jasmine are connected thanks to a Truth or Dare game back in season 21. We decided to start putting connections for Evelyn by attaching her to Paula and Laurel. Dunbar and Paula finally get connected here, as well as Derek and Paula are connected from back in season 15. Brittany's only attached to Paula in this entire chart. And of course, Ty. Ty is tiny, as he is just going to be trying to be situated directly in the middle of Emily and Paula here. It was kind of tricky to connect Teresa and Leroy.
He's got Naya, Cam, and Cam doesn't have a ton.
Theo and Eddie
I think are the
Oh, right, Eddie, and then Eddie and Alicia and Corey. Oh my God.
Yeah, we don't even have Corey on here yet. Kellyanne was attached to Dunbar. We try to do a little cleanup to help with players who get crossed with lines. We do our best to make it as legible as possible, but it can become sort of a rat's nest with how many players get added. If you have any questions, please check out the Google spreadsheet in the description to follow along. You can say I got too hyped when adding Dario to the chart at this point. Kimberly and Dunbar eventually get connected to one another. Anissa and Dunbar. Kimberly and Dave M shared some moments on their real world season together. Kimberly and Sarah also are attached. Dustin, more real world Las Vegas 2, as he is going to be tethered to Heather M and Cook and Emily Fitzpatrick. We bring in Jessica as well. Jemmy, she was on X on the Beach Peak of Love with Marlon. We're getting through Marlon at the moment as we connect him with Derek C, as well as Derek is being attached to Trishelle and John A. Derek and Devin from the reunion that happened season 23. Derek and Frank also kissed on Battle of the Seasons, which Frank didn't have the most flattering things to say. Frank is also connected to Trishelle. We're kind of getting through Zach's numbers here with everybody who is already on the chart. Of course, we're going to be adding Jenna in a little bit later. Ashley will be attached to Dario. Ashley will also be attached to Zach. This is where we add in Jenna. Johnny Riley for Avery, as well as Nani. Devin and Issa are tethered together. CJ and Emily were on the same real world season, as well as Aya, who had a few makeouts with Emily Fitzpatrick and John A. Now, what was surprising to me is that I didn't remember Melinda having any other flings except with Danny, who she would be married to and divorced, but she was also connected to Aya and Brandon Nelson, who Brandon was also connected with Carly. Stephen H, as well as Frank to finish out Trishelle. Bring in Jillian. I really like Frank and Jillian back in season 15. Jordan to bring in Naomi to be attached to Leroy, to also be attached to Nani. Got to really stretch out that line between Nani and Naomi. Also, we have to find a way to attach him to Jemmy. Bring in Naya. There is a shared connection with Jordan and Leroy, so we thought it would be good to get Leroy connections onto the chart. Get everything as optimal as possible for when we start tethering people to Jordan. Bring in Amber M, make her super tiny because her and Michi were only on one season together, so attaching Anissa and Amber, then attaching Amber to Michi, and then also bringing in Sam and Laterian. I mean, this was pretty late in the process that we were getting through all of Anissa's numbers, and we added her so early on in this process. Big T is actually quite interesting because she is attached to not only Anissa, but finally we're adding in Ashley, who has been waiting on the sideline this entire time, and we are adding her into the chart thanks to Big T. Shout out Big T. Fresh cotton pads. Another huge person to add to the chart is Corey. Now granted, Corey only has about 6 hookups, but in his first 3 seasons he had so many, so close together, that the challenge preemptively gave him like the Hall of Fame award. David Burns is a very interesting old school player as he is attached to Tanya. Also, we learn from Veronica and Blair's after show that David, who was on the Challenge 2000, was seeing 3 women on that season at the same time with Kat, Amaya, and Holly. Bringing in Dan to be attached to Amaya. Colin only did 1 challenge season, and he became a challenge champ, but he is only attached to Amaya in this process. We decided that we're going to focus on Corey for now, being tethered to Cheyenne, as well as Alicia, who we do need to put some distance because we're going to have to attach her to Eddie, who also needs to be attached to Cam, bringing in Theo Campbell to be attached to Cam as well, and also attached to Paulie because of the fight that they had back in season 34. I saw lips touching, so it counts. Corey attaches to Camilla and Ashley and Kayla, who brought her husband onto season 38. With Corey situated, we turned our attention over to Kyle, as he is attached to Faith, Ashley, Cara, Melissa, Nicole Z, Maddie, Marie. Marie only had one other connection, Rob, from her Real World St. Thomas season, so we just added him real quick. Sylvia is also very interesting here. I forgot that she would be attached to Kyle. We also add Sylvia with Bruno. Bringing in Jay Mitchell to be attached to Jenna, of course, who then is attached to John A. And Jay gets attached to Jemmy. Now comes the tricky part of trying to attach John A. and Jordan. As we attach John A. with Preston, attach Jemmy to Nicole. Davon will also be connected to Jemmy. Davon only has one connection, and it's with Jemmy. Now we finally attach Naya with Jordan. As the chart can barely handle it, Jordan also gets attached to Laurel, also with Kayla, whom they had a romantic fling on season 30. They were trying to keep it hush-hush. Bring in Nerese back in season 38. And of course, Tori, whom Jordan and her were engaged at one point. Horacio gets attached to Laurel as well as Nerese. And Bear, unfortunately, is a part of this chart and will be attached to quite a few people. I mean, he only did 3 seasons, but made the most of those 3 seasons. Being attached to Laurel, being attached to Kayla, Kaylee, Ashley, Georgia. Georgia then is attached to Ashley McKenzie, who was on the Challenge UK, but they weren't on that season together, but they were on Celebrity X on the Beach together, where they did try to make things work. Josh surprisingly has quite a few attachments here and connections with Laurel, Georgia, as well as Melissa. Esther will also be added to this list, and Ashley, and Naya. This jogged our memories to add Kyland into the chart to be attached to Naya and Melissa. Tony fits nicely here, getting connected to Camilla, as well as Ashley, as well as Nicole Z, Christina. Brandon will also be connected to Christina, the guy who quit because he wanted to be with his girlfriend, and that's where TJ said, "Don't take care, hope to see you never." And Christina's last connection is Nate. Nani and Melissa are officially connected on the chart. Devin is finally added into this chart to be connected to Marie, as well as Camilla. A lot I've seen from previous hookup charts is that whenever somebody like puts one up on like Reddit or something, one of the top comments is always, "When did Camilla and Devin date?" And it was season 28. I think it's one of those that just like completely go over people's heads, and yeah, they barely overlapped with each other, so I could totally understand where the disconnection happens with it. We finally add Emmanuel J to the chart to be connected to both Michelle and then also Tori Deal. Callum is added in here. Johnny E to be connected to Jessica. Huey being attached to Kieran and Ashley M. Kiki, Queen Kiki, shared a smooch with Kieran over on Bachelor in Paradise Australia. Raven is also being attached to Kieran. One of the fastest like kissing regrets I've ever seen was the Challenge Australia between Kieran and Audrey. As we move to Michelle, there was a major Era 4 contestant that I realized we hadn't added to the chart yet. This next one is a big name.
Okay.
Big name. Think of the...
Some girl she kissed.
Nope.
Okay.
It's a guy. I'm talking about Mayhem himself.
Oh, right, Fessel. I completely blocked him out of my mind.
Fessel actually could have been the Era 4 pillar. He's one of the Era 4 players that has the most connections. And we'll get back to him in a second as we're just trying to connect all the like one-offs / some of the more recent players to try to get more of the chart kind of filled out. Johnny M and Ashley were connected thanks in part to this most recent season of House of Villains. Nelson would be attached with Nerys, who is then attached to Ashley Mitchell. D will be attached to J, which then leads to Rogan also being added into the mix. And with that, we can add in Izzy from season 41, where Rogan and Izzy were both on this new Celebrity X on the Beach, which is now on Paramount Plus. Nothing really happens between them. They pretty much just say that they're going to go on their own merry ways. And Nicole R is connected to Nate. And Anthony C is also connected to Nicole R. Time to round out some of Tori Deal's connections. We have Derek H, who is attached to Alicia and Tori Deal. We also have Asaf, who is connected to both Alicia and Tori Deal as well. We have to swap sides because Asaf needs to be connected to Nani. Derek H is connected to Angela. Amanda eventually gets brought in. Fessel, now we're going to focus on him being attached to Gabby, being attached to Amanda. Joss and Amanda having been in a romantic fling back in season 32. Joss is also connected to Kaylee, where they were both on X on the Beach together. Ashley Kane being attached to Kaylee, as well as connecting her with Nelson and Melissa. And it's at this point we could not delay the inevitable any longer.
Perfect. The only person that she's not connected to right now that she needs to is Bananas, and that is it for her.
Okay, so I think it's time to bring him in.
This chart took over 7 hours to assemble, and we waited until like hour 5 to lock in and bring in Bananas. Which, can I just say, maybe looking back wasn't the smartest idea, because this is where things got kind of out of control. Bananas, who has been on the challenge since season 13 and who has done the most challenge seasons, probably should have been or could have been one of the 4 pillars. As we now have this giant rat's nest of a chart, and now we add in somebody so instrumental of the challenge, dare he would say that he is the challenge, and to try to add him to people who are on the other side of the chart maybe wasn't the smartest idea. We tried to connect him to Evelyn for the longest time, trying to do like a double swerve, but we decided to try to do this like kind of vanishing point to where we can make it like a phantom connection on the outside of the chart. So in the final product of this chart, you might see that there is a line connecting both Evelyn and Bananas, as well as Casey Cooper and Bananas, and it looks like they're not attached at all, but it truly is just like the same quote-unquote line. It's just connected to a shape. It was the only way that we could connect Bananas to Evelyn and Casey efficiently on the other side of the chart, as it was just getting way too complicated to try to connect them in any other way at that point in the process. But with the addition to Bananas, we have pretty much every big name on the chart, and it's just getting through connecting all of Bananas to him, as well as anybody else that is already on the chart that isn't connected with maybe a one-off player or other players as well. And then we just got to get down to the one-off players who don't have that many people attached to them. But with Bananas, you got Morgan, You got Mariah. Mariah is also connected to James from season 39, connecting Bananas and Camilla, of course. We officially finish off Melissa by connecting her to Bananas. The same thing with Nani. We're trying to finish off her connections as well. And Bananas was like the last piece for a lot of players by this point in the process. I mean, we're hitting hour 6 of hour 7 or closing in on hour 6 of hour 7 and going into the final like 70 minutes of this Saturday that we took our time doing. Camilla would be connected to Nicole Z and Vince. Now we devoted our focus over to Fessel and some of the newer players like Colleen, who would be attached to Emmanuel as well as Fessel. Fessel and Tori Deal will always have Turks and Caicos. Can never get that out of my mind from both the Instagram stories as well as the opening to season 37. Fessel and Ashley shared a smooch on season 36, Double Agents. I don't think he took her to the Wizarding World of Harry Potter. The chart couldn't handle Bettina being added to the mix, but luckily we were able to add her in. I mean, at this point, we are so close. We really tried to keep on double checking ourselves and who is attached to whom. Fessel is attached to Laurel. Nelson gets attached to LaToya. We also have to attach Angela to Nelson. Who could forget their Dr. Phil appearance with each other? Welcome in Olivia to officially be connected to Nelson, first and foremost. Of course, we're going to connect her with Theo, which it sounds like there was a lot of speculation that they got married. At the reunion, it was mentioned that Olivia and Jay had shared a kiss on the bus, so we are attaching them as well. Also, I did not mention it or did not see it, but Berna was also added into the mix here, being attached to Nelson. Should I say Berna or Bertha? Once you add in one Love Island contestant, this is where we're going to add in a ton of them. Now, I know what people are going to say. Josh G, he hasn't been announced on season 42 yet. Well, here he is. We kind of know from the challenge rumors and casting rumors that Josh G will be on the upcoming season of the challenge. So he also would be connected to a lot of people who were on the Challenge USA, and I didn't want this chart to be instantly outdated right when the announcement for the Challenge 42 happened. So I added him in, and because of the shenanigans that happens on Love Island and the games they play, pretty much everybody is attached to each other. If you're from the same season or from Love Island games like Justine and Josh, then at some point you're going to be kissing or doing a kissing booth or anything like that. Curtis and Justine are connected because they were a part of Love Island games, I think season 2. Amber is attached to Jeremiah and Chauncey. Late in the process, we decided that we're going to focus on just getting all of Nani's connections done, so we add in Chase, who was only on one season of the challenge, Casey, Nani's ex-fiance, as well as Hunter, who needs to be connected to both Ashley and Nani. And we're going to go with a more recent connection, and that is Will, who will also be connected to Dee, whom will be connected to Johnny Bananas. It was not shown in the episode, but it was shown in the trailers that America had kissed Dee. The revelation that happened at the season 41 reunion, we had to connect Will with Anissa. Jenny also needed to be connected to Anissa from what happened on season 35 Total Madness. Somehow, even by this point, we were still missing names for Ashley. And when double checking her connections, it led to my favorite moment of constructing this chart.
Who else for Ashley?
Derek H.
No, I don't believe that. I'm sorry. There's no way that happened.
Let me double check this. 32 4 minutes reunion.
The person that agrees with you is your laughter lady.
Because when I hooked up with Derek H. after
Yep, that's.
I
she
just
did.
heard her say it.
Honestly, that was really funny.
The thought of having to connect Ashley to Derek.
They didn't even cross paths on this season. So for them to like cross paths eventually is just wild.
And that was my favorite moment when creating this chart. And just a testament of why, if you have any questions or anything about the assembly of this chart, go check out the Google spreadsheet because it helped in this specific instance. We're starting to add in some of the one and done players with Brandon being attached to LaToya, Sebastian being attached to Tori, Kells being attached to Tori. Because at this point, we're starting to look over everyone, double check, attaching Julia with Hunter, whom Julia then had to be connected to Ashley C because of a spin the bottle that happened in the episode 0, Zahida and Ashley C being attached. They talked about it in the reunion as well as was seen in the trailers. Kaz needs to be connected to Theo C, as well as she needs to be connected to Curtis, whom they were on Love Island together. A Love Island All-Stars, I should say. Arabella attached to Curtis. Gabby would be also attached to Curtis. We also need to add in Marcel, who was on Gabby's original Love Island season. They had ended the season, I think, being in the top 3. And now we are at the point of just putting together the one-offs. The players that are only attached to themselves and nobody else that is already on the chart. So you have Puck being connected to Rachel from their Real World season of Real World San Francisco. Sean is connected to Rachel, whom they found each other on season 1, Road Rules All-Stars. You have Ronnie and Kifla being tethered together as they met on Kifla's Road Rules season, and then they were able to be on the same Road Rules team in season 2 of the challenge. Jason and Janet had an infamous connection on the Playboy Mansion tennis court. Dan S. and Yes kissed thanks to a scavenger hunt prompt, and they are only attached to each other, which is kind of surprising. Chadwick and Holly came in as a married couple on season 5, Battle of the Seasons. Nate and Priscilla were both on Real World San Diego 2. They shared one makeout one night, and that was it. But that was enough to get them on Battle of the Exes season 22 together. Trey and Laura came in as a couple on season 23 together. You have Are You the One contestants, Adam and Brittany, made use of the Boom Boom Room on their Are You the One season. And John Jay and Brittany shared a kiss during Spin the Bottle in Are You the One. And then John Jay was also connected to Simone. Cousin Mitch and cousin Rihanna are connected, having shared a moment in their bunk beds with cold cuts. Swaggy C and Bailey are attached because they came in as a married couple in season 35 Total Madness. Tamara and Turbo are connected, even though some people say that the rumors are that they were not really a couple. They came in, they pretty much said they were a couple, and even Tamara's boyfriend got on Twitter and said that she cheated on him with Turbo. Ryan and Emily found each other on the Challenge Australia and eventually got married, as well as had a baby together. Brooke B was on the Australian Bachelor and Bachelorette, where she met Conrad. Conrad and Megan met on the Challenge Australia. Kira and Cashel met on Love Island USA Season 1. Then you have Alyssa and Angela, both of whom are attached to Tyler C. Now, Tyler C did not do a challenge season with Angela, but they met on Big Brother. They both were on individual seasons of the Challenge USA, so it counts that they were on the challenge and they were a challenge-ish couple. So they are all attached. And finally, the final trio of Oki, Huhui, and Claudia from the Challenge Argentina. And with these three combined, that is all 295 challenge contestants who make up the extensive, complete challenge hookup chart to date at the time of releasing this video.
This chart tells the story of 50 plus challenge seasons, over 700 episodes, 7 hours to construct, and a 6+ year dream come true for me. This took so much time and effort from everybody who was involved with this at one point or another, and I can't help but to get a little bit choked up seeing the final product and knowing how much was put into this. I just want to say thank you so much to everybody who has helped, who has been a part of this process, as well as everyone who is watching this video, because that is also a part of this process. I somewhat did this project for the fan in me, but also for the fandom in general, and I just want to say thank you so much for not just watching my video, but also if you watch any of my previous videos as well leading up to this point. Just thank you, thank you, thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have a great day, and I'll see y'all next time. Peace.